I'm going to show you how to do backups and differentials with Ansible. First command we're going to run is the backup command. This is going to back up the configuration of 4 of my devices. Backups are going to populate under this files directory right here. And then that's it. Your backup is done. If you want to do a differential, you have to have a task and specify the diff option, and then that'll execute against the configure chef stage. Obviously, we just did a backup, so there's no differentials present. But if I make a change to one of my golden configs, let's say I want to add a VLAN 20, and then I kick off my differential, it's going to show that switch 1 has a change with a VLAN. If you want to learn how to build this, I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Welcome to the DevNet Zone. My name is John, and today we're going to focus on backing up network device configurations and performing differentials. If you want to reference the Ansible documentation, you're going to come to the Ansible documentation site, and we're going to be using the iOS_config module. And for this module, we're going to be using the backup parameter, the diff against, and intended config parameter. So obviously, backup is what we're going to be using to back up our configuration, and the diff is how we're going to perform our differential against that configuration versus the running configuration on the device. This is the topology that I'm going to be executing my code against. So I have 4 devices, 2 routers, and 2 switches, all running iOS. All right, and let's get started. So looking at the playbook, this is called iOS tag backup tag role. We're going to be targeting the iOS group. So pretty much every device that is running iOS operating system is under this group. Here's my collection, and then here's my role, iOS tag backup. So if I go to my roles, iOS tag backup, and let's look at the task. So in my main.yaml, I have 2 tasks. So first task is to back up the configuration, and the second is to perform the differential. So let's look at this. So name backup iOS config, tag backup. This is the iOS module. So here are my parameters. So I'm specifying yes, backup, true, and my backup options. So 2 options, my directory path. So this is an environment variable for your role. So since we're in the iOS tag backup, this is going to be iOS tag backup /files. So it's going to be inside of this folder where all my files will be saved. And then the file name, same thing, Ansible environment variable for the host name. So inventory host name, and then _golden config. And for my second task, when I perform the differential, so tag diff, same exact module, except we're using the other 2 parameters. So diff against is intended, and then my intended config is going to be the same files that I backed up. So inventory hostname, golden config. So let's go ahead and kick off these tasks. First one is we're going to back up our configuration. Very quickly backed everything up. If I refresh my VS Code, all right, here are my 4 files. So you can see for router 1, I have the entire configuration. Same here. I have all 4 devices. I have all the configuration. Okay. Now, if let's say I run the backup task again, it's actually going to see if anything changed. And as you can see, it didn't actually make any changes because it said, hey, you just backed this up. This looks exactly the same. It's all green. So it's actually not going to continuously back up and overwrite those files. It's going to see if there's something different and then back it up if that's the case. For example, if I go in here and I make a change, let's say I mess this file up. It's just let's remove some lines, all right? So now for router 1, this is different. We're gonna kick off our backup, and we should see that router 1 shows up as yellow because that is the one that we changed. So the backup is actually doing a differential, and it's only going to back up if there was a change. Okay. Now we're actually going to run our differential. So I'm going to call diff, And specifically for the diff, you have to use the diff option. This will not work. It will not perform a differential unless you specify diff. Obviously, we just did the backup, all green. So same thing. Let's do some stuff. Let's make a decent change. Let's do a switch, and we're going to add a VLAN. Let's say I want to add VLAN 20, 30 to Ethernet 1 on just switch 1. Let's do a differential again. And here's a report. So, oh, and I actually saved the previous one to see that there's something different in router 1. There's that one IP address that I messed up earlier. Router 2, different, no changes. Switch 1, you can see that it says, hey, you added these extra VLANs to the trunk. These are the differences. Let's do a backup, and then we'll perform a differential, and it's all green. So you can see the backups realized that it was different, and then we executed our diff. We saw that those things are different, and then we executed our backup, and it overwrote those files. And now we perform a differential, no changes. Perfect. Okay, now we're gonna go over a real world scenario of like why this is important. So to start off, I'm going to kick off a clean backup. So the backup should be exactly how we want it. This is our golden config now. So if we do whatever it's in the config, we're gonna keep it, and we do a differential. Okay, let's say at your job you did a backup. This is your golden config, and you can set this as a schedule to check to see if someone is going in there making changes that shouldn't be changed or aren't tracked. You can set this command as a schedule, maybe once a day, multiple times a day, however. So you can have this continuously so you can catch to see if changes are made when they're not supposed to be made. So I'm going to go into the switch. Let's go look at our interfaces. So let's go look at Ethernet 1, 0, 1. What does this look like? So we're going to add, remember these are untracked changes. So we're going to go ahead and add a VLAN to this trunk, allowed VLAN, we'll say we want 10 and 20. So we'll add VLAN 20. Okay, that's one change. And then if I look at my other interface, Ethernet 2 seems to be admin down. Let's say somebody comes in here and wants to no shut this interface and give it access VLAN 6 for VLAN 20, right? Untracked changes. And they get out of the switch. So now we go and run our differential that's set on a schedule, and we see the results. So what we're seeing here is we're saying, based off the reference of the golden config, is, hey, in the golden config, I don't have this. I don't have VLAN 10 and 20. What I do have is VLAN 10. And for Ethernet 2, I don't have VLAN 20. It says in my golden config, I have this VLAN and I have shutdown. So because I did a no shut to the interface. So what you would do is you would log into this device and you would correct these changes. You would remove this config, you would remove this, and you would set it back to what the green is. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for future videos.